AITA for getting upset my BF wouldn't take me to the ER. My boyfriend, M20, and I, F21, lived together at my parents'. I have been having some pretty bad UTI symptoms and went to a walk-in clinic 2 weeks ago when I had clear signs of a UTI, and they sent me home and said I tested negative. I woke up a week later with extreme hip pain. I spent all day on a heating pad and crying. 2 more days pass, and then I woke up with the worst abdominal pain I've ever had. I begin screaming and call my mom. She says to wake up my boyfriend and tell him to take me to the nearby hospital, 7 men, bed is small, or one that's 35 minutes away that would properly handle what was going on. I wake him up and he says, just sleep it off. At this point I'm in tears. He says no and alludes that I'm overreacting, which I've been known to do, and it's probably nothing because I tested neg. I feel as if I've been stabbed, and this is not the type of pain I can wait out. I'd even compare how I'm feeling to a possible bladder rupture because of how awful I felt. Finally he agrees to take me, but only if I let him sleep for 2 more hours. I understand that if it was some ungodly time, but it was currently 11:30 a.m., and he went to bed at 3 a.m. after playing video games. I explain that I can't wait that long and have no one else home to drive me. He turns over and lays back down. An hour goes by of the worst pain in my life, and I decide I will just try to suck it up and drive myself to the nearby ER. I woke him up one more time, and I explained that I cannot wait any longer and need to go now because something is wrong. He snaps and says given 1 more hour and lays back down. I storm off in my car and make it about 2 blocks before I realize I forgot my wallet, and I was in no state to drive, as I was literally in so much pain I couldn't focus. I come home and lay down in bed beside him as I scream out in pain. He says that I know it takes time for him to wake up and I have no right to get mad. I barely utter out please take me to the one 7 minutes away because I'm scared. I remind him that I've driven 2 hours at 3 a.m. on no sleep just to pick him up from the hospital and spent the whole summer helping him recover from his injury, including bathing and wiping him because he needed me. He argues some more, than finally at 2:30 p.m. takes me to the hospital 7 minutes away. It turns out I had an advanced UTI and infection in my bladder and kidneys, as well as a kidney stone that was infected. I felt bad as I recalled my attitude that morning, but I was in LOT of pain. I do recall saying things like, fine, just don't help then, and you're being a dick, in rebuttal to his attitude. Am I the TLDR boyfriend wouldn't drive me to hospital until he got more sleep? Story 2. I, 33M, overshared about overwhelming relationship with mother, 54F, and got blocked by 29F. I've been talking to this woman, 29F. I've met on a dating app for a couple of weeks. Let's call her Judy. We've been hitting it quite well. Plenty of messages in the app, then spending some nights exchanging voice messages on Instagram. We talked about many topics and everything was going fine. I live far from my home city, away from friends and family, and my mother, 54F, has come to visit for these past 5 days. She's a very intense and anxious person, and she has been talking about how she seems to have ADHD. Fact is, within a couple days, as much as I love her, I already feel overwhelmed by the intensity of it. On Saturday I was in that state, overwhelmed, and shared a couple messages with Judy. Asked her how she was doing, and she asked about me. When I told her about my mother being around, Judy said she didn't want to bother, and I ended up telling her that I actually needed a lit break from my mother. Due to the intensity of her, I'm aware that I may have overshared, but I was stressed out and needed to talk to someone else. Considering all that we've shared so far, I felt like it was all right to be real with Judy. I mentioned the anxiety and the ADHD, and how I was having a little trouble dealing with my mother at that point. Problem is, Judy has ADHD. She asked me if my mother was diagnosed. I told her I wasn't sure, that I only mentioned it because my mother has been talking about it, and apologized since it wasn't my intention to trivialize her condition. I also apologized for venting to her about all that. She said it was okay and that she was heading out. Today, I sadly realized that she blocked me. It's the first time someone blocks me, so I don't really know how to go about it. I'm aware that it isn't her job, but I feel like she could have expressed how she felt about what I was saying, perhaps even opening my eyes to the POV of someone with ADHD. I'm also afraid I may have triggered her or made her feel inadequate. Judy and I have a friend in common. For a second, I thought about asking her to tell Judy that I'm sorry if I made her feel bad, that I was in overwhelmed state and saw in her someone I could talk to. but I quickly came to the conclusion that I'd better let it go. I guess I should have posted here instead of talking to Judy. Any input on how to deal with anxious/intense behavior without getting overwhelmed on my situation with Judy, and also on how to deal with that desire for closure when getting blocked is very welcome. TL/DR. I overshared about how my visiting mother's anxiety and self-diagnosed ADHD was overwhelming me and got blocked by the woman I had been talking to for the past weeks, who happens to have ADHD. I feel sorry for possibly having triggered her. Edit. I try to read all of it and answer as much as I can. However, I realize that trying to explain and justify myself in the answers is kind of going against the letting go and moving on part. I'm still reading and appreciate all of the comments. Thanks for taking your time. Random fun fact: I've been writing and reading so much about Judy that it almost seems like I actually know someone with that name. Story 3. My 22F boyfriend 26M won't say I love you after dating for over a year. So, for background, my boyfriend and I have been dating for a year and 6 months now. I really do care about him. He's smart, funny, and makes me a better person. We've recently even discussed moving in together when my apartment lease is up in a few months. The only thing holding me back is the fact that he has never told me he loves me. He's had a bad relationship in the past where his ex cheated on him and has a hard time opening up. I understand this and never wanted him to feel pressure to say those words to me, but at the same time I think this little thing may be a deal breaker for me. I have tried before to tell him how I feel without overwhelming or pressuring him. Just 3 times I have told him I love him, and he has always just ignored me and acted like he didn't hear me say it. I don't want to be petty or come across as if I'm seeking attention, but I don't know if I want to continue a relationship when it may mean that the person I want to spend the rest of my life with will never say they love me. It just seems sad to me. TL Doctor, my boyfriend, who I've been in a serious relationship with for a year and a half, won't say he loves me, and it may be a deal breaker for me. Story 4. Did I, F24, make a mistake by telling my friend, M27, he's a catch? I like him, and it just slipped out when we're texting and I was drunk. His friends are acting weird whenever I'm around, smiling/laughing and looking at me. I told my male friend it was weird he is still single because he is a total catch. He replied, I know, and a selfie with his arm around his head, so probably not into me. I noticed yesterday some of his friends was looking at me and smiling, like they're laughing at me. Are they making fun of me? Why are they smiling? I feel so horrible. I like him, but I have a feeling he doesn't really like me in that way, and I wasn't supposed to say that he's a catch. It slipped out from my fingers. Now that I've told him this, how do I proceed? Should I ignore him and not contact him anymore? I'm so embarrassed. TLDR. Told my male friend that I have feelings for that he is a catch during our texting conversation. It slipped out and I was drunk. His friends have been acting weird around me like they know